It's a bit exhausting to hitchhike, but it's also really rewarding, and like you feel the love from people and like the good that people do. Hello there, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Linnea Enberg, and I am from Sweden, and I am 24 years old, and I started this YouTube channel just because I felt like documenting a few things, and also, well, I got overwhelmed by the amount of viewers and subscribers to this channel, and I like to get suggestions on topics that I would talk about. But primarily I focus on talking about what feels right, and yeah. So, starting up, yeah, I was hitchhiking through Europe this summer, and it was really awesome. I really recommend this way of traveling to anyone, because, well, anyone who feels like they can manage, because, well, at times I didn't feel like I would manage, but you'll get through it, and as long as you feel like comfortable and safe with yourself, I think there will not be any problem. And like trust in the good that people do, instead of being afraid that somebody will pick you up who doesn't have good intentions. I was going down to the nearest town, which is like 70 kilometers from where I live. Went down there with two friends and got they left me at the market where I wanted to stop, and I bought a plastic tarp, because I felt like, yeah, that would be a good thing when I'm gonna camp in nature and so on. So I bought it, and then I went all the way into this town called Skellefteå, waited there all day for my friend to arrive, because we were gonna hitchhike together, and he arrived like around 8 o'clock in the evening, and we went to the first bus stop, and like, yeah, okay, we can set a tent here, and maybe sleep here tonight, and then start early tomorrow to hitchhike. But then we were so like, let's do this now. so we actually jumped out on the side of the road and started to hitchhike. And like 20 minutes later, a caravan, or a house, how do you say, house car? Like not a caravan and a car, the ones with camper van. A camper van drove in and stopped for us, and he drove us all the way to the next big town, which is called Umeå. We were so happy to like starting our journey and everything, and then he called, my traveling friend called a friend of his, and we got to stay at this friend's place. Yeah, we had a good night, and then we woke up the next morning and went for maybe 30-40 minutes until we reached the road that we're gonna hitchhike from, and stood there for, well, I think 3 hours or something, and nothing happened. And then my friend said to me that he had to talk about something, and he didn't feel good at all. He wasn't able to join me for the rest of the trip, and he felt very bad for it, and like he didn't want to ruin my trip, and yeah. But I said, like, if you don't feel good, it's no meaning with going further, because it would only get worse if you don't feel good and then doing this traveling, because you have to be alert at all times, and like, yeah, no rest. It's a bit exhausting to hitchhike, but it's also really rewarding, and like you feel the love from people and like the good that people do. But anyhow, he couldn't follow any further, so I stopped and thought for a while, like, me as a single girl on the road, and like I could stay in Sweden just all summer and chill out and go to my boyfriend, and like, or I could do the most the hardest thing that I ever done in my whole entire life, and like just go with the flow, and yeah, and that felt so important to me. So I decided to go by myself doing this hitchhike. Yeah, because I felt it was really important for me at this time in life, and this was like my only chance of doing this for a while, at least for a year, because I had to go back to school now in the autumn. So anyway, I went to just a few hundred meters away, where a couple stopped for me. They were going to climb in Övik, Örnsköldsvik, as it's called, and that's also about 200 kilometers away, south of Umeå. Yeah, and they said they had gone past me once, and then they saw that I was hitchhiking, so they turned around and like took all the way, maybe 2 kilometers, like wrong way, just to pick me up again. And I had a ride with them all the way to Övik, as I said, where they dropped me off at the gas station, and I like took my bags, filled up with some water, and then went out to the road again, where I waited for not even 5 minutes, and then I got picked up by a man who drove me like 20 kilometers away, down to another bus stop, and I waited there for like maybe 40 minutes or something, and then the whole family came and picked me up in their car, and they were going to Uppsala, but we stopped in Sundsvall and had lunch. So, like, from Umeå to Uppsala in a day would be like a bit over 600 kilometers or something in a day, like, and only because of the good in people, and they felt like picking me up because I was standing there, and like, yeah, so awesome. And yeah, I came to Uppsala, and they were going a bit further and going home, and they dropped me off at the market, food market, store, shop thing, and I was like, yeah, this is good. Now I can buy food and yeah, sleep. I'm gonna sleep somewhere. So I went around the whole building and found there a forest, which was perfect for sleeping in. And a few other people had also made a camp there, but they weren't there. So I was alone in the forest under my tarp that I bought. I felt like I would buy, and I got used for it the second night. So intuition, super. I woke up the next morning and started my trip by hitchhiking again, and went down to a circle, roundabout, I think. Anyway, you know what I mean. And stood there for like 5 minutes, and then this wonderful man came and picked me up, and I was he offered me a ride all the way to Hamburg, but he didn't know what day he was going, so maybe 1 or 2 days from the day when he picked me up, so I couldn't take that offer. But still, he was so kind, and he left me off at another place, and then I made a mistake and went into Stockholm, like the city of Stockholm, which wasn't my plan, because hitchhiking, then you should stay off the big cities, and I made that mistake a few times. But anyway, I got in there and out there in like 20 minutes because people are awesome. So yeah, then I stood at the bus stop, and then a wonderful woman picked me up, and she was going all the way to Österlen, which is in the south, really south of Sweden, somewhere. This is Sweden. I came from there, and now I'm about here somewhere, and she was going there, I think. And same story again. She dropped me off after a wonderful car trip, and like we discussed everything from like environmental problems and like feminism and veganism and vegetarianism, and she was a tattoo artist, and yeah, she was awesome. So yeah, she dropped me off, and like I went to the next circle roundabout, you know, and got picked up there within 20 minutes by a couple who was going all the way to Malmö or even further. I jumped off and they left me there, and I had to walk for maybe 15 minutes up to a crossroad, and I stood there for not so long, and then came a taxi, a cab, taxi, you know, taxi anyway, and picked me up, and I was like, he's stopping for me, what is this, a taxi? Because I can't pay for a taxi, it's too expensive. But then I saw he had a customer already, and the customer asked the taxi driver to stop for me. I was so thankful. And this is in just outside Malmö, which is like not the most southern part of Sweden, but pretty south, pretty much far south. Yeah, and the Malmö is where the big bridge is over to Denmark. So the third day, but like the second day on the road, actually on the road, I got to Denmark with a taxi. And I stopped there in Copenhagen, and tried to hitchhike from the airport, because this taxi was going to the airport, and yeah, but it wasn't really easy, and it was in the evening as well, so I didn't get any luck with hitchhiking from there. So I went from the actual coastline where I was dropped off, and walked just maybe 500 meters in, where I met a friend. He wasn't my friend, but we became friends pretty immediately, because he was also hitchhiking, and he was going back to the Czech Republic, and yeah, so we were going the same route. So we thought, why not join and join together and hitchhike together, because it will be so much more fun. So we did, and his name is Matus, and we tried to hitchhike for maybe 40 minutes or something, close to the airport in Copenhagen, and got no luck at all. So we thought we should sleep somewhere, and looking around, nowhere, no like open areas, and wasn't Sweden anymore, so you couldn't like just set a camp anywhere for the night, because yeah, I think allemansrätten is something that only Sweden have. So we went along, just walking closer to the city or something, because we had seen a good hitchhiking point for the next morning. And walking there, came to a neighborhood where the houses were close and everything. And I was thinking to myself, like, if only somebody would be out in their backyard, and like, then I could ask them if they would want to borrow a piece of land for us for the night, and like, if we could stay there, and like, don't bother them, but like, please. I was just thinking it, and almost didn't finish the sentence to Matus, and then I saw a man in his garden, and I was like going backwards up to the gates of the lawn, and like, hi, excuse me, sir. And he was like, yeah, well, what's up? And I was like, yeah, would you mind borrowing a piece of your front yard for us to set our tent for the night? And he was like, yeah, well, for me it's not a problem. I'm just gonna go and ask my wife. And they were okay with it, and they were so friendly, and like service-minded even. Like, it was almost like coming to a camping, because they were like, oh, do you want to use the bathroom? Do you need water? Do you need anything to eat? Do you want tea? And we were like, yeah, we're fine with having this piece of your front yard. It's really kind of you. But anyway, we got invited for tea, and had a nice night session, late night session of talking, and so good people. And we got to sleep in our tent, in my tent, and yeah, the next morning we started pretty early and thanked our landlords for for borrowing this piece of land to us over the night. And then we went further and got picked up by who? Can't quite recall because there were so many drivers. But we had our goal set for the day. We were going to stop in Hamburg for the night. That was our goal. Yeah. And it's pretty far from Copenhagen to Hamburg. So the first thing was with the first car, the first driver that we caught, he was going to Copenhagen, like the city. And we were like, yeah, but it will be okay. But it wasn't really, because we had to stand there for like 3 hours and nobody picked us up, even though we were standing close to a bus stop. But finally somebody stopped, and he was going all the way to Odense, I think, or even the next half island, like the one that is joined together with Germany. So we got a ride all the way, and it was a long way. I think we drove for like 2 hours or something. Somehow, in a magical way, we got all the way to Hamburg and spent the night there in a tent behind a gas station, which isn't really legal, but nobody caught us, and I won't tell where exactly, and yeah, so bring it on. So we raised the tent in like complete darkness and slept there over the night and started the next morning with a breakfast actually at this gas station, truck stop thing. If you're gonna hitchhike, try to stop at places like gas stations or truck stops, because it's easy to turn in there for everybody, and often on the highway there's a pretty wide margin on the road, so you have a bigger chance of getting picked up at those places than just standing by the road, which I also tried, and then people are less happy when they pick you up. But it works too, but the police won't be too happy about it if they catch you. Anyhow, we got a ride with a man in the morning. No, actually I think this was the hippie woman. And then we met 2 other hitchhikers who were going to Berlin. And we were going sort of that direction, but the road split. So Berlin is more north, because we were going to Leipzig, which was our like goal for the day. And it's like on the other end of Germany, so it's also a pretty far ride. Anyhow, got dropped off by this woman in the hippie van, which she had built herself, and like, so cool. I was totally amazed because, as you might know, I'm a big fan of tiny houses and like camper vans and tiny living possibilities and opportunities. Blah. And we got picked up in this tiny car with a very tall dude. And he drove us to a gas stop, like almost, not really halfway, but it was like an hour's drive or something. And we just got out of the car, took our bags and like stretched our legs and arms and everything around. And then another tiny car comes rolling just right in front of us. We didn't pick up our hitchhiking signs or anything. And he was like, "Are you guys going to Leipzig?" And we were like looking at each other and looking at him and like, "Yeah? How did you know?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm going there and I know it's a bit hard to get a ride there, so yeah, you can go with me." So we were like overwhelmed with happiness and like, "Wow, thank you so much." How did he see? Like, well, our big backpacks maybe revealed that we were hitchhiking, but anyway, it was really cool. We didn't even have to ask anybody or something. He actually asked us. So anyway, we asked him to wait for like 10 minutes to refill our water bottles, and then we jumped in his car and he drove us all the way to Leipzig, which is a beautiful city. I really recommend it to anybody who is who is a human. It's a warm city, and we were in the southeast of Leipzig, which is very, very youth friendly, and they have vegan places everywhere, and it's just so cozy. I like it. We were going this car with this man, and we're getting close to Leipzig, and we also were aware of the time, which was pretty late, and it's not very good to hitchhike late in the evening, because one, you won't see much, and two, they won't see you either. So we started talking about like places to sleep, and if we're gonna stay outside of the city or actually go inside of the city and like take in a hostel or something, motel, hostel. And then this man offers his apartment because his roommate wasn't there. So we got a free hotel, because he offered his big bed for us too, and his kitchen and everything. He was like, feel like you're at home, and yeah, just close the door behind you. I'm going away to a party. You can come later if you want, but yeah, take it easy, take a shower, make food, use everything. Yeah, feel like home. So amazing, like this dude. And then we went, after we had gone shopping for food and made food and ate and everything, then we went to this place that he talked about, which is called Coney Island. And it's a beautiful park, and every Wednesday evening they have this party thing where you can paint some graffiti, you can play basketball, you can buy vegan food, and you can dance if you wanna. You can. There was kind of a concert, but I think it was DJs. It was only DJs, so it was like club, or yeah, where you can just hang out and you can go skating. Coney Island, yeah, I really recommend it if you're going to Leipzig. And then we went back. There was a thunderstorm and heavy rain. Yeah, so we had to run from there, and then we ran away to a bar. In Germany they smoke inside. I'm not really a fan of it, but it was okay. I survived. Sat there for an hour and a half, and then we went back to the apartment and had a good night's sleep. So the next morning we woke up really fresh in the head and the body and everything, and we tried to get out of town, which wasn't very easy because I'm not very well oriented in big cities, and I don't really know how the system works with all the buses and trains and everything. So really good thing I had Matus on my side, because he like guided us out from the city. So we got out of the city to a place called Markleberg, where we jumped off the train and tried to find a good spot for hitchhiking. And now we were going separate ways, because he was going to Prague and I was going down to Munich. So we found a good spot, or we thought we found a good spot, and walked like 2 kilometers to the highway, and was standing on a walking road over this big highway, and like, yeah, okay, this wasn't a good idea, because there were a big high wall like 3 or 4 meters up, 5 kilometers along the highway, and we were like, okay, so this isn't good. We have to reschedule our plan, or like, yeah, make a new plan. So we went back a bit and were looking, and then we saw that the wall ended at a place. We made a decision to try to go to that pass where the road was splitting up in different directions and everything. Yeah, so we went there through the jungle of grass and like small trees and everything. And I was like, maybe there are ticks everywhere. I was pretty scared of ticks all the time, but totally during this whole trip I got like 4 of them or something, and I learned a really good way of taking them away. We went to this road, stood there for 20 minutes, but everybody was like, "You can't stand here," looking at us and like doing this with a finger and everything. So we thought maybe we should stand here. So we walked a bit further, and then we decided to split up because he had to go another way to get where he was going. And luckily, after a few tears and like, "Oh, thank you for everything, Matus," I got picked up by a man who said this wasn't a good spot for hitchhiking, but he had been hitchhiking too, so he knew. And like everybody that I got picked up by had some story about hitchhiking or picking up hitchhiking people and everything. So that's quite cool. It's like, you're not alone. We know about this. It's okay. So he drove me to this truck stop, and there I stood for half an hour and almost got picked up by a truck driver, but he couldn't pick me up because he was going on another way. And then this black little car with a roof that you can like a cab drove in and stopped for me, and he was like stepping out of his car and said, "I really hope you speak German." And I was like, "No, I don't," like 3 words or something. So I stuffed my things into his car, and we were going all the way to Munich, and that's about 500 kilometers from where I were, or something like that. I don't really know for sure, but yeah, it's pretty far. Yeah, we tried to communicate with his, he wasn't really good in speaking English, but he understood a lot of English, and German and Swedish are like, I heard something about 30% or something is similar words, so I could sort of get what he was saying with mixed German English, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, and he was a lot of fun, and we listened to music, and yeah, anyway, he told me that he and his family were gonna meet up in München, and sleep at a camping, because they were going to a family vacation to Croatia. And I was like, "You're going to Croatia?" Yeah, and then we're going through like out of Germany and through Austria and then down through Italy and then to Croatia. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to Italy. Would it be possible for me to go with you tomorrow as well?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, that wouldn't be a problem." So I got to spend the night at this camping in a tent, and it was really cheap, like 10 euros or something. And then the next morning we packed everything in his car again, and then we went away, and yeah, well, they offered me breakfast and everything, so really friendly people, and I tried to learn like "thank you very much" and stuff like that in German. Well, yeah, amazing family. We drove all the way into Austria. I don't really know how far in Austria, but then I told him that he could drop me off like anytime, because it was pretty close to the Italian border, so I thought it would be a good spot. So he dropped me off, and I tried to hitchhike from there where he dropped me. And then after like 10 minutes, I see blue lights on the highway, and they're coming towards me, and I was like, "Okay, step outside of the Autobahn," because it's not legal to hitchhike from the Autobahn, even though it's like perfect for it. I don't know, rules. And they said like, "You can't stand here," and I was like, "What? I thought this was an exit from the Autobahn." And they were like, "Yeah, no, go there." So I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you for telling me." Whoops. And yeah, so the new place wasn't a good spot because there were like 1 car every second minute. So I walked up to where I stood again, but I continued the exit road from the actual Autobahn down to the second road, which was going straight to Italy. And there I stood also for like 20 minutes or something, and there was a thunderstorm in the distance. So I stood there and like watched these big clouds rolling in and had the mountains on the other side, and like everything was so beautiful. Wow. And anyway, a man picked me up, and he didn't speak a word English. He understood some English, but yeah, so we like communicated with only looks and like laughs and pointing at things, and yeah, it was cool. And he dropped me off on the other side of the Italian border. So this was the 4th or the 5th day of my total journey, and I got to Italy. It was the 5th day. Once again, I stood there with my things and tried to hitchhike, and got picked up by a couple who were going to a city that it was 50 kilometers away from my target destination. And yeah, they picked me up and left me there, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try once more. I'll hitchhike, even though it's late in the evening. It was like around 8 or something in the evening. And not long after, a man picked me up, and he was stressed out after work and everything, but he picked me up anyway. And I said where I was going, and he was like, yeah, okay, I don't think you should go there. I can't get you there, and but I can show you where the crossroad is for yeah, where you're going. But I'm gonna drive you to another city. So we were here, and I was going there, and the road was going like this, and he drove me here. So we had like 50 kilometers to target and 50 kilometers to target destination. So he drove me only to just as far as I was in the beginning. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going there, so I can jump off here in the crossing. And he was like, no, I think you will have better chances of getting a hitch or a lift from this city. So what could I do? I was in his car, and he was really nice and everything. But yeah, he dropped me off in the city, and I had to spend the night there. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, I got dropped off, and like 5 seconds after I stepped out of the car, a family came to me and like, oh, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? Like starting asking questions, and were really friendly. And I went to the other side of the road where there was a pizzeria and everything. And then a family walked over the road, so they stood facing me from the other side of the road. And the woman of the family walked over to my side, and she saw that I was hitchhiking, and she was like, yeah, it's really late in the evening. I don't think anybody would come and pick you up here. And I was like, oh, okay, but I know a few hotels. I can there, over there is one hotel, and on the other side of the city is one. I could go and run and see if they're open, or if they have a place for you. And I was like, what, really? So she ran away for 5 minutes, and then she came back and said that they had a room, but there were another hotel which was a bit closer. So I went there first and like thanked them a lot, because it was so nice of them to do this thing. Came there to the hotel, which was closed, but just on the other side of the street there was a restaurant, and the restaurant owners saw that I was standing there by the hotel, and they came outside of their restaurant and like, yeah, hi, who are you, and where are you from, and what you're doing, and all these questions, and I answered them. They offered to make a phone call to this hotel, because they knew I was a foreigner, yeah, from another country anyway. So they called and told me the price of the hotel, which was a bit pricey for me. And while we stood there, we talked a lot, and then they said that they knew about this other hotel, so they called there too, and it was better price. Still a bit too much for me, but it was affordable. And then they drove me there. It was like 1.5 kilometers away, but they drove me there and dropped me off and made sure that I got the room and everything, and then they said goodbye. Like so friendly, and they didn't ask for anything, and I didn't have a chance to ask for anything, because they have already done everything for me. So I got this room, which was with 3 beds, but I only had to pay for 1 bed. And I got a toilet and a bathroom and good night's sleep and also breakfast in the morning. And then I tried to hitchhike from this little town, which wasn't easy. So I had to walk for maybe 2 or 3 kilometers in the burning sun of Italy. Even though we were in the mountain, it was really, really warm. Okay, you guys, tiny update. I'm in Italy and I'm going to Tramonti di Sopra. But I was driven to Forni di Sopra. And that wasn't really my plan. But anyway, that happened. So now I'm trying to get a lift. And it's really tiring to walk here in Italy. It's up and down all the time, but it's fun. So yeah, bye. Finally, after maybe, it wasn't too long, I mean maybe 1 hour walk, then a car stops for me, and he had already been driving past me a few times, and then he had finally decided to stop for me. Because he said that he once was hitchhiking too, and this was his debt to pay or something. But he was really, really nice too, just like all the other drivers that I met. So he drove me to this crossing in between these 2 cities. So I walked from there, walked a bit up the hill, and from here it was very, very steep road, and the road was going like this, San Francisco style. And I walked past the house where a father and his son was sitting on the porch, and they were like, hello! And I was like, hi! And they asked me immediately where I was from and where I was going, and I told them. And they were like, wow, that's a pretty hard way to be walking, but okay, do you need anything? Maybe a glass of water or something? And I was like, oh yeah, thank you very much, I would really appreciate it, but you, like, thank you. And they gave me a whole bottle of water, and I was like so thankful. So I kept on walking, and maybe I walked for... It's pretty hard to be walking up these roads, so it takes a bit longer than walking just straight, and also I had this backpack. So maybe I walked for half an hour or 40 minutes or something, and was sweating like crazy. I was soaking wet everywhere, if you have to know. And then a man going to work like at 10 in the morning picked me up in his car and drove me all the way down to the parking for this rainbow gathering, and yeah, to Tramonti di Sopra. And he left me off there, and then I was with the family, all safe, like filled with experiences and filled with love for all these people that have picked me up and helped me through this journey, and such an amazing experience. Like, if you're going to travel, if you have time, I really, really recommend you to hitchhike, because it will be like just going through airport to airport. It's like, it's the safe way, but it's not really an experience in the same way, because now the whole travel was the goal and not just getting there. It's really amazing, and like see the good in people and their goodwill to help you. And I didn't feel really unsafe. It was only this time in Sweden where I slept under this tarp that I felt a bit unsafe, because it was close to a big city and it was the first night on my own. But I survived and everything went well, and it's like so amazing that people just took care of me somehow. Yeah, so I really, really recommend this way of traveling, and you're gonna meet so fascinating and interesting people. And just keep your mind set on what you want, and I think if you do that, things will go well. And listen to your gut feel and your intuition, and if something feels like shady or something, maybe don't go with it, and like, oh, thank you for stopping, but I have to do something, or, well, yeah, I don't think they will be mad at you or something. And as a hitchhiker or a person who picks up hitchhikers, you are both exposed to the same risks because you don't know each other and like you have to trust each other. That's what I'm gonna say. Thank you so much for watching, and tell me down in the comments if you have any questions about my hitchhiking and like what I thought or anything, or please share if you yourself has hitchhiked anywhere. And have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here, and so much love to you all. And please like this video if you like it, and share it around with your friends and family and the world. And subscribe to this channel. See you in the next one. Have a beautiful day. And peace and love to you all. Bye! But she dropped me off there. This is a perfect map of Sweden. Just don't judge.